Hello, good evening, everybody. Good evening. I just want to make sure you guys are awake. Yeah, good morning. આપણે અહીંયા આગળ મંદિરમાં છે એટલે we would like to keep the decorum of the temple. But we are very fortunate and I am very glad to have these things arranged today. And Mehul and actually Kanubhai Patel, they have helped a lot. And we have a very special treat today. So we are going to listen from Swami Gnanmanandas. He is actually from New York, Albany. He did his bachelor's in chemistry and anthropology. And then he went to India in 2015 to study more about this agriculture and became one of the disciples there and then saint. And then in 2021, you know, Mohan Swami Maharaj, he is the current, what we call, if you want to consider head of this BAPS. He asked him to come back to actually USA, and he has been doing a lot of work with children, youth, young actual professionals, and he is based in Robbinsville. You know Robbinsville? Robbinsville is where the biggest actual Swaminarayan temple is there. If you have not been there, you should. When you go to East Coast, try to go there. This is big, very good, but that is even higher scale than this. So that you can just kind of imagine. And today I thought that we will talk about role of the religion in medicine, but I will give some perspective on the medical side of it, but I would like to have Swamiji talk about the role of religion or spirituality in our life. Swamiji.
चंद्र भगवान की जय, श्री उमापति महादेव की जय, श्री प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज की जय, श्री महंत स्वामी महाराज की जय. So as Manoj Bhai so graciously introduced me, I'd like to talk a little bit about spirituality and religion in our own personal lives. As we know, and you guys know better than I, that the world is getting faster, right? Things are moving faster. And before, people used to watch feature-length films. Then, you know, they moved on to TV shows. Then they moved on to YouTube videos, and now everything is a 1-minute TikTok video, right? We go to people's homes, and they cook food for us. And I ask them, where did you learn how to cook? And they say, I learned on TikTok. And so we're impressed that the world is moving faster and faster. Things happen faster. Things move faster. Things are a lot different than 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, or when we were young. But with that movement and with that speed, we find that we are less and less aware. Maybe we are more aware, but we are less and less in sync with ourselves and our emotions and what we feel. And so we are all very publicly successful. We are all outwardly successful, and we see things and we act. But inwardly, nobody knows how we feel besides ourselves. And so we can put on a mask, a face of happiness, but our real unhappiness, our real sorrow, the real feelings that we feel, only we can know. Right? If somebody was to walk out here with a $2,000 pair of shoes, we'd think, well, wow, he has $2,000 shoes. But if there was a thorn in his foot, who would know? Only he would be able to tell that there's a thorn in his foot. Maybe if some of you guys are orthopedic doctors, maybe you'd be able to tell. But in general, only he would be able to tell that there's a thorn in his foot. If somebody has built a great body and, seemed to go onto the gym and looks like a bodybuilder with great muscles, you'd think to yourself, okay, wow, he's put in a lot of work at the gym. But if he had just taken anabolic steroids, then who's going to know about the side effects? Who's going to know about the mood swings? He's going to know, right? At first glance, we wouldn't be able to tell at another person's miseries, at another person's sorrows, at another person's unhappiness. Only we ourselves can tell of our own unhappiness. The anecdote of the sad clown, you guys may have heard this, but once a man came to a doctor, and the man, went up to the doctor and he said that, I'm not feeling well, I feel sad, I don't feel like doing anything, I don't feel motivated, please give me some medicine to change my mood. So the doctor said, well, this is our first time meeting each other, please tell me a little bit about yourself, and maybe we can diagnose the problem. And the man said, no, just give me some medicine. And so the doctor said, well, that's not how this works. You need to explain your symptoms. You need to explain what's wrong with you. And he said, well, I'm just not enjoying things. I just need some medicine. Just fix it. Well, the doctor said, well, that's not how this works. So maybe it seems like you're just kind of stuck in a rut. It doesn't seem like you have clinical depression or some sort of issue like that. It seems like you're kind of stuck and you just need a change in your life. So tell me what it is that you do. And he said that, well, my life is mundane. I do the same things again and again. I just don't have any fun. And so the doctor said, well, why don't you take a vacation? Why don't you get away from your job, maybe get away from your family, and kind of reset? And the man said, no, doctor, you don't understand. Just give me some medicine. So the doctor said, well, no. So the doctor said, no, that's not how this works. Maybe go out in town. Do something new. Change your life. And the man said, well, doctor, you don't understand. Just give me some medicine. The doctor said, well, that's not how this works. How about you go and see something? Go and watch a movie. Go to the circus. Go bowling. The man said, well, no, I just want some medicine. Just fix it. Make it go away. And the doctor said, okay, look, go to the circus. And at the circus, there are many different shows. And I myself have gone. And I've enjoyed it. And I've laughed. And, I've had fun. Go to the circus. The man said, well, doctor, you don't understand? Just give me the medicine. So the doctor said, look, there's a clown there. And he is very funny. And I went there and I laughed. And I laughed so hard that my stomach hurt. Go and see that clown. Go and see that show. I promise you, your mood will be different. What did the man say? Doctor,
Give me the medicine.
just give me the medicine because I am that clown. Right? What does the world know of our misery? What does the world know of our unhappiness? Charlie Chaplin once said that I alone can make the whole world laugh, but the whole world together cannot make me laugh. People don't know of our own feelings, our own miseries. And sometimes they're very close to us. We don't understand, the other people can't see, but they're the things that are the closest to us. Our own head, our own family, our own work. The things that are close to us are the ones that bother us the most. Another anecdote I'll give you is once, several years ago, maybe 50, 60 years ago, a man decided to walk across the country. And he thought, okay, I want to walk from California to New York on foot. And I want to be the first person to do this after a long time. And, it was difficult, right? You can imagine that walking across the breadth of this country would take a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment, and a lot of courage. And there would be many different obstacles along the way. But he had decided that I want to do this no matter what. And so he started walking. And he started walking, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked. And after about 4 months, he made it from California to New York. And this was a great accomplishment. And so when he made it to New York, everybody got together. And, they started to congratulate him. Journalists came. The different local officials came. They gave him awards. They asked him questions. And he was on the news. And then on the news, they asked him, okay, what was the biggest obstacle? Because you would have had to cross mountains to get here. Because you would have had to deal with the snow to get here. Because you would have had to deal with the heat and the rain. You would have had to deal with different animals. You would have had to deal with different kind of situations. You have to cross rivers and deserts. There are so many different obstacles that you faced to get here. What was the biggest obstacle that you faced in your entire journey? And so the man, he thought, and he said, yes, there were all of those obstacles, but the biggest obstacle was the sand in my shoes. Because it bothered me the whole way from California to New York. Sometimes those small things make a difference in our life's journey. Those small problems affect us the whole way, from start to finish. And so when we think, what is it that we all want? What is it that we all hope for? What is it that we all aspire to? Once, sadhus like myself, we go to different homes, and we ask the homeowner, what should we pray for? What is it that we should pray for you? And so, similarly, in India one time, a sadhu such as myself went to somebody's home, and they asked, okay, what should we pray for? Now at the time, there was only one person at the home. He was a young man. He was probably studying in 12th grade. And so the sadhus asked, okay, what should we pray for? And so the man, he said, well, I'm not really sure. I hadn't thought about it. But maybe you should pray for me to get 95% on my 12th standard exams. And so the sadhu said, okay. But then? He said, well, I don't know, then I want to go to medical school. And the sadhu said, but then? Well, then, the goal is not to go to medical school, but the goal is to become a doctor. So I want to be a doctor. And the sadhu said, but then? And he said, well then, I want to help people, right? We all want to help people, but also, I want to earn some money, right? And so I want to earn money. And then? Well, and then, I'll buy a car, and I'll buy a home. And then? Well, then I'll get married. And then? Well, I don't know, I hadn't thought about it. And then, but, then I'll probably have some kids. And then? Well, I don't know. And then, right? And then those kids will grow older. And then? Well, and then they'll go to school. And then they'll get married. And then they'll have kids. And then? Why do you keep asking and then? I don't know and then. And then I'll sit at peace. Because after everything that we do in life, all we want is peace. We ask people, what should we pray for? What do we want from God? And so whether we go to different homes, we go to homes in India, we go to homes in America, we go to homes of people who are rich, we go to homes of people who are poor, we go to all of these different homes. It doesn't matter what age, what caste, what race, but everybody, all they would ever want is happiness and peace. So we all have some sort of unhappiness, and we all want some sort of peace. But where is that peace? Where is that happiness? Where can we get that kind of feeling, manage our moods, get those feelings in ourselves? That's the question, right? And that's the great search. And that's what man has been searching for since the beginning of time. Man has been searching for that peace and that happiness. And so, we have problems in life, and we have to do something about it. But the problem is that those problems, they just don't go away. In our scriptures, in Swaminarayan scriptures, Bhagavan Swaminarayan has once said that if you go out onto the street and your foot gets pierced by a thorn, You cannot say that I want to pave the entire world so that nobody's foot is ever pierced by another thorn. As I was introduced, I often go to children's events, and I give children an example. That everybody in their home has a thermostat, right? And how does a thermostat work? Basic mechanism, right? I mean, either there's a dial or there's a button, but basically when it's cold in your home, you kind of turn it, the number goes up, the heater turns on, and it reaches that temperature. When it's too warm, you turn it back, the number goes down, the AC or the cooler comes on, and it reaches that temperature, right? And so I asked the children, everybody has something like this in their home? And they say yes. I was like, everybody knows how to use this? And they say yes. And I say, everybody does this at their house? And they say, if our dad lets us. But the point is, everybody has this in their home. And so I asked them another question. Well, let's say that you wanted to go outside and you wanted to play. And it's very cold. It's wintertime. And it's very cold outside. So where's the thermostat? That you can just go outside and turn the dial and the temperature will go up. Is there such a thermostat? And I'll say, no, Swami, there's no such thermostat. So I said, okay, well, everybody has a shower in their home, right? And all showers have the same basic mechanism. When you go into the shower, there's like a handle there, and you kind of turn it. When you turn it, the water turns on. And so that water turns on and hits you. And when you're done showering, you turn the handle back, and the water turns off. Same basic mechanism, right? So I asked them another question. Let's say you have to go to school, and you have to walk to school, and it's raining. Where's the handle that you just turned to turn off the water? Where's that handle? And they say, well, sorry, there's no such handle. But, these kids are smart, and they say, well, Swamiji, if it's cold outside, you need a jacket. And if it's raining outside, you need an umbrella. And in the same way, for our problems, we may ask that our problems just go away. Or we may try to run away from our problems. Or we may try to avoid our problems, but that's not going to work. You need to address your problems, and you need to take care of those problems. And that's what our scriptures teach us. One time a man came up to me, and he said that, Swamiji, you talk about family problems. Me and my wife, we have no problems. We have no issues whatsoever. And I said, well, that's very good. How do you guys have no issues, no problems? And he said, well, I let my wife do whatever she wants. And I said, okay, well, that's great. And I was like, well, what about you? And he said, well, I do whatever my wife wants. And so we have no problems. But that's not addressing the problems. That's just giving up, right? That's not just having a conversation, having a dialogue. But similarly, we kind of give up. But what our scriptures teach us is that we need to address these things. And because we have an unstable mind, because our mind is racing at so many different speeds, we are not able to experience happiness. In the Gita it says, Asantasya kuta sukham, that because of our unstable mind, we are not able to find happiness. But if we can do certain things, we can find that happiness. And that's why religion and spirituality are so important, because they teach us things that we may already know, but they reinforce those things. And they come from the voice of God. And when God tells us those things, it's different. We can understand that. Because many of you have glasses here, right? Several of you have glasses. And so I'll ask you, when did you first get glasses? Some of you may have gotten them when you were very young. I go to a lot of children's events. They get them when they're very young, right? And how do you know when you have glasses? Well, you look at the board, right? You try to look at the board and you try to read it. And when you're looking and trying to read the board, you can't see properly, right? And you're squinting, you're trying to read the board, and a friend next to you, he tells you, well, you can't read the board clearly? I think you need to get your eyes checked. You have glasses. And so, you get your eyes checked and you find out you need glasses. But let's say, hypothetically, that you were sitting in school, and many of you might have studied in India, and in India, at school, you share a desk, right? Two people sit at the same desk. And so you and your friend are both sitting at the same desk, and you're both trying to look at the board, and you're squinting and you're struggling to read it. And your friend next to you, he's also squinting, and he's also struggling to read it. So who's going to tell who that, hey, I think you need to get your eyes checked, you can't see properly? You'll say maybe somebody else in class. But what if everybody in the class needed glasses? What if everybody in the city needed glasses? What if everybody in the state, everybody in the country, everybody in the world needed glasses? That's what Krishna Bhagavan explains to Arjuna in the Gita. That we all cannot see the world for what it is. And that's why I've come here, I as in not me, but Krishna Bhagavan himself has come down onto this earth to explain to us the way things really are. The reality of this world, right? And so, I'm just going to quickly talk about a couple of things that Bhagavan explains to us that allows us to be happy. One of the things is that we are not able to let things go. We have problems and issues. Somebody slaps us once and it hurts, right? But then we remember that slap about 200 times. And every time you remember it, it hurts a little bit more. You rub your cheek. Because we're not able to let things go. But that's what is explained in the Gita, Sankhya Yoga. To remember that everything is temporary. Everything is going to go away. But what happens is that we harbor certain feelings, certain anxieties, certain anger, certain jealousy, and those things bother us. And we're not able to manage those moods, and they make us unhappy. And so, what happens is that one time, us Swamis, we were at the mandir, and an individual, he came and he said, well, Swami, I need to talk to you. My father is making my life miserable. I hate him. And we said, well, why? And he said, well, look, he forced me to study. He favors my brother. My brother always gets new things. I never get anything new. He's always giving me less my entire life. He always talks down to me, right? And even once I got married, he decided not to stay with me and help me, but he helped my brother. When it was time to kind of split up his assets, he gave more to my brother and less to me. Even when he passed, he favored my brother. He gave everything in his will to my brother and not me. And so we said, well, okay, that's a shame. That's sad. How long ago did your father pass? And he said, it's been 20 years. So we said, well, it's time to let it go. It's been 20 years. You're still harboring these feelings of anger towards your father. It's been 20 years. But what happens is that these small things grow into big things. We make mountains out of molehills. And so, in our home, you might have had just one argument, right? With your spouse, or with your children, or with your parents. And you have the argument. And the argument is over something silly. But what happens is that we make it big. And so we have the argument with our spouse, but we take out the book. And we say, well, on this date, at this time, you said this to me, and I still remember. And then somebody else will take out their book and say, but at this time, on this date, you said this to me. But what Krishna Bhagavan teaches us is to let it go. Sankhya Bija. In the Mahabharata, there's a section where Yudhishthira encounters a person named Yaksh. There are Yaksh questions. Right? And Yaksh asks a set of more than 100 questions, but one of the questions is Kim Ashcharya. What is the biggest Ashcharya or biggest marvel of this world? Right? And so Yudhishthira, he thinks and he answers, Ani ani bhutani gachanti yamalayam shesha stavaram icchanti kim ashcharyam ataparam. That every day people pass away. Every day people move on. And we see this in front of our own eyes. But we still never believe that someday it'll be my turn. That's at the heart of Sankhya Vichar. And that's at the heart of spirituality. Understanding that this life is temporary and we need to move on. And that allows us to be happy. It allows us to move on to different new things. Right? And then the other thing that I'd like to say is that to rethink your initial reaction. Rethink your initial gut instinct. Because what happens is that we have this instinct and we want to do certain things. But sometimes we make decisions very quickly. And we don't consider the alternate reality or the alternate perspective. And so because of that, we find ourselves unhappy. In the war of the Mahabharata, Krishna Bhagavan and Arjuna, they're in the middle of the two armies. And immediately, Arjuna thinks to himself, how can I fight? Because across I can see my teachers, my relatives. Everybody that I have loved is on the other side of the battlefield. I cannot fight. But Krishna Bhagavan explains to him that you need to rethink your perspective and your reality. That we are all the Atma. And nobody is related to anybody. Nobody is anybody's mother or anybody's father. And he explains all of this in the second Adhyaya of the Gita. But the point being is that we kind of make quick decisions. That he's my enemy and he is my friend. He is my loved one and he is my hated one. And we harbor these things and we harbor these feelings. And so we are unhappy. I'll say one last story. In 2002, in one of our temples in India, in Gandhinagar, there was a great terrorist attack. And you guys may have heard about it. It was a really awful thing. 33 people died in the attack. Some mothers died in front of their children. Some swamis died. And so, this was exactly 1 year after the riots of Godhra. And so everybody was afraid. Everybody was afraid that this sort of attack and this sort of terrorism would create new riots and new bloodshed and new hatred. And so, all eyes were on my Guru Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Because he was the leader of BAPS, and it was his job to react to this terrible, terrible attack. And so, the first thing that Swami Shri did was he prayed. And then he came to Gandhinagar. And he put flowers where each and every person had died. And then they showed him that this is where the terrorists had died. This is where the commandos, the Indian commandos, had shot down the terrorists. And he put flowers there. And he prayed. And he said that may everybody have intelligence, have good intelligence, good feelings, good emotions. May they become better. May we pray for peace. Because he was able to give a new perspective, look at it differently, that we are all humans. And we all have things that we have to deal with. But if we can look at it from a different perspective, if we can learn to let things go, if we can incorporate this spirituality of our scriptures into our own lives, we'll be able to manage our moods, manage our stress, manage so many different things much better. So today I pray that all of those words of God can come into my own life and all of our lives. Jai Swami.